Under the shower, the warm, relaxing water washes away the exhaustion. Feeling the steam rise, our guy enjoys the luxury of a shower without having to wait. Turning on the air conditioner, a cold breeze blows with a simple touch of a button. Through the window, the view is clear and bright, nothing like the stench of the other world. While planning to play StarCraft in 2025, a monstrous figure suddenly appears on the glass, smiling. Screaming in terror, he watches the creature crash through the window, sending shards flying everywhere. Completely confused, fear takes over as the abomination invades his room. At that same moment, an alarm sounds, warning of an erosion member's appearance in the complex. The emergency voice echoes through the hallways, telling residents to run to the underground shelter. Climbing the building, dozens of red, thirsty creatures swarm the place. Rushing down the stairs, our hero tries to escape the chaos as fast as possible. However, looking to the side in the hallway, a terrifying scene freezes him for a second. Blocking the path, several beasts pile up, ready for a massive attack. In the light coming from the window, danger seems to be everywhere, with no way out. Peeking through a crack in the wall, he tries to figure out his next move without being seen by the monsters. After managing to shake the monsters for a moment, his breathing returns to normal behind the door. But at the end of the hall, a child holds a piece of wood like it's a weapon. Warning him of the danger, our guy tells the kid to run to the shelter immediately. With a fierce look in his eyes, the kid says he's going to take them all down and even asks our hero to join him. In disbelief, he finds out that Earth has been in chaos for 13 years. Unable to leave a child alone, the only option is to follow the little warrior down the hall. Apparently, the kid thinks our hero is completely clueless for not knowing anything. Explaining the situation, he says that no one knows where these beasts come from or when they appear. Realizing he left one bad place only to end up in another, anger consumes our protagonist. When asked about his lack of knowledge, his lame excuse is that he's been living in America all this time. The boy immediately shoots back, saying the president over there can't even send his own daughter to Korea. Quickly changing the subject, he mentions Lisi, known as his favorite hunter, to cover his tracks. Excited, the boy reveals she's rank 10 and is fighting in Chair 1 right now with her sword. But the question remains as to how ordinary humans face monsters of this level on a daily basis. Reminiscing fondly, our hero comments on how much he loves that giant sword she uses. Before the kid can show him the video on his phone, the situation changes drastically. Darn it, the monsters found the pair at the worst possible moment. Emerging from the shadows, several creatures block the path, ready for the takedown. Counting quickly, our hero spots 5 beasts with one more hiding in the shadows. Assessing the enemy's physical strength, he knows he can handle them easily. But the real problem is protecting the defenseless boy in the middle of the fight. With no decent weapon in hand, the strategy needs to be different now. Suddenly, a familiar feeling of mana vibrating in the air catches his attention. Certain that it's the same energy from the other world, a plan forms in his mind. Charging forward, the smiling beast goes for the first finishing blow. Barely dodging, the attack just misses as he prepares a counter-attack. Since his stored mana is gone, using the energy from the atmosphere is the only viable option. Activating the paradoxical phantom flame engraved in his soul, the power emerges, albeit weak. With a fluid motion, the magic cuts through the air and hits the enemy's head, tearing through everything. Impressed with the feat, the little boy happily shouts, calling it a unique trait. Ignoring the talk about academies in YouTube, our hero rushes to finish the job. Focusing the phantom flame, the attack is prepared with lethal precision. As long as the flame burns, the target will continue to be consumed until the very end. Wide-eyed, the little one watches everything without blinking, amazed by the display. Delivering powerful blows, our guy doesn't care about whatever this YouTube thing the boy is talking about is. Telling the kid not to look, he tries to spare the child from the grotesque scene. Borrowing the piece of wood, the fight is now going to be physical and direct. Smashing the wood against the monsters, he lays down a beating without any mercy. Leaping high, the final blow comes down with crushing weight on the last beast. Out of breath after the fight, he hears the boy accuse him of being a hunter in disguise. All around, the beast's remains cover the floor, and the smell in the hallway is unbearable. Deeply regretting it, all he wanted was peace after returning from that awful place. But the world isn't cooperating. Looking down, the scene is no different from the other world he just left. Guiding the boy back, the little one complains indignantly about being called a brat. Finally, his mother appears in the hallway, screaming In-sung's name, desperate with worry. Thanking him profusely, the woman hugs her son, relieved that he's alive. Noticing the designer clothes and expensive earrings, it's clear the kid is truly wealthy. Suddenly, a violent boom shakes the entire structure of the building. Breaking through the wall, a gigantic mouth full of teeth appears, roaring and drooling. Shouting for everyone to run, panic spreads as the outer wall collapses. Pulling on our hero's arm, the boy begs for them to escape together right now. Standing still in the midst of the chaos, Our hero feels like he asked for too little from life. All he wanted was to see his hometown exactly as is before, peaceful. Staring at his own injured hand, perhaps that wish was too much to ask for. Calling out to the brat once more, he decides to question that self-destructive attitude. Being rich and able to live safely, why on earth does this kid want to become a hunter? With a firm gaze, the boy reveals he lost his father to one of these beasts in the past. Realizing that not even the underground bunker is safe, the illusion of protection is gone for him. Going to become the strongest hunter, the boy promises to exterminate every last monster. Shouting that he will save the world, the determination in his eyes leaves our hero speechless. With a confident smile on his face, our hero says the boy's dream isn't silly at all. However, making the reality clear, he says it won't be the little one who saves the world. Pulling the boy by the arm, the hurried mother tries to get her son away from the stranger, but looking back, Yoon-sung feels that this man is different from everyone else. Shouting with all his might, he calls out to our hero one last time before leaving. Having already decided to take on this burden, our hero walks toward the danger without fear. From a distance, the boy's eyes shine as he realizes he has found a true hero. After all, someone who has saved a world before can surely do the job better than any rookie. Remembering the past, he recalls how he was summoned, won the war, and returned to Earth after 20 years. Fortunately, all the combat experience he gained helped him survive in this new chaos. Sitting in front of the computer, a peaceful life now seems dreadfully boring. Eating chips and drinking soda, adapting to modern comforts was way too easy. Relaxed in his gaming chair, he reflects on the irony of having to save the world again. In this world, delicious food and fast internet are just a touch away. Checking his phone, he decides to order delivery and leaves saving the world to the professional hunters. Looking at his bank balance, sadness hits hard when he sees the measly amount left from his severance. Trying to find a job, our hero realizes the job market is in a tough spot. Since companies are constantly going under due to monster attacks, nobody wants to hire. Staring at the blinds in his room, he knows he needs money to survive in modern society. Suddenly, a hunter recruitment notification shines on his phone screen like a beacon of light. Arriving at the Hunter Association, he admits he has plenty of experience in this specific field. Entering the lobby, curious eyes focus on him, wondering if this ordinary-looking guy is a hunter. Gossiping in the corners, two candidates comment that the exam is just for show these days. From their bored expressions, everyone there seems to be just small fry with no talent. Cutting through the monotonous atmosphere, a woman with black hair walks by, catching everyone's attention. Excited, one of the candidates recognizes the figure and boasts that their group is the best. Jaw dropped, the man nearly chokes when he realizes it's the famous Lee Si-eun. Walking with authority, the rank 10 passes by surrounded by her bodyguards in suits. Whispers fill the place, questioning if she came in person to recruit someone special. On the team's tablet, the target is already marked Han Sang, a swordsman class with a lightning attribute. Coldly asking if the rookie can serve as a human battery, Si-eun shows her practical side. Sitting in the VIP stands, she waits to see if the girl's ability will truly be useful. Beside her, an analyst with glasses assures that the candidate's actual combat performance is impressive. Offering a piece of candy to his boss, the redhead tries to lighten the heavy mood of the conversation. In the arena, the difference between academy training and fighting real monsters will soon become clear. Immediately, the announcer proclaims the start of the first match to the eager crowd. Smirking, Si-eun plans to increase the rookie's market value before recruiting her. However, something unexpected happens, and the narrator comments on an interesting candidate. Gripping the railing firmly, our hero prepares to enter, even though he's not from the academy. Opening the door to the arena, the entrance of a common civilian is unprecedented. Behind him, his courage to step onto the stage raises doubts among the audience. Announced as Yu Chan-suk, he still finds it strange to be called by the new body's name. Reading the rules on the big screen, it's clear that only weapons provided by the association are allowed. Taking a deep breath, the main goal is to save this doomed world, no matter the cost. On the other side, his spiky-haired opponent scoffs, telling him to enjoy life while he can before getting beaten. To get good results in this tournament, our hero knows he needs to put on a show. Striking a battle pose, the enemy already starts releasing energy to intimidate. As soon as the fight begins, the Lancer charges forward, laughing at our guy's lack of mana. Calm and serene, Chan-suk says it would be an honor to lose, provoking his opponent. With his spear on fire, the so-called undefeated Lancer attacks with full force. In the blink of an eye, our hero disappears from the path of the attack, leaving only smoke behind. Appearing behind the enemy, he gives him a scare that nearly stops his heart. Holding the opponent, he casually comments on how clumsy the guy is with a spear. Landing a sharp blow to the back of the neck, the impact reverberates through the Lancer's body. Not understanding what happened, the guy takes the direct hit, and his vision starts to blur. Moving away quickly, our hero says he used his bare hands to not cause too much harm. Despite looking like a complete rookie, his performance surprises everyone in the stadium. From above, Seon watches in silence, trying to understand what she just saw. Consulting the data, the team confirms he was from logistics and has almost zero mana. In disbelief, the analyst with glasses bets that the result could only be pure luck. Crushing the candy wrapper in his hand, the redhead feels the tension rise as he's told to shut up. Analyzing coldly, Seon realizes the candidate is intentionally not accumulating mana. Scratching his head, our hero thinks he needs to show off a bit more to prove his worth. Coughing up some fluid, the opponent tries to get up, refusing to accept the humiliation. Reassuring his rival, our guy tells him the injury isn't serious, just painful. Outraged by the audacity, the Lancer's eyes widen, unable to believe his defeat. Finishing the fight with a precise punch, the winner is announced Yu Chan-sik. Getting up from her chair, Seon decides she needs to see this guy's real skills now. Hurrying down the stairs, she goes straight to speak with the association's president. Meanwhile, in the arena, our hero complains that the rookies are too weak. Taking down one opponent after another, the disappointment is written all over his face. Dodging a sword, he wonders what on earth they teach in that so-called academy. Looking for a real challenge, it seems there's no one decent in this place. Until the crowd goes wild, praising the beauty of the next fighter. Finally, candidate Hansang enters the arena, her katana ready for the final duel. Facing the new adversary, our hero maintains his usual relaxed posture. The white-haired girl comments, impressed, that he has accumulated more mana than anyone. However, with a scornful tone, she claims that technically, he has nothing to offer. Drawing her sword, she declares that his lack of a unique trait will be his downfall. With her eyes glowing with pure green electricity, the threat becomes real and dangerous. Scratching his head, he admits to having a special power but refuses to use it so as not to harm anyone. With no patience for small talk, the swordswoman charges forward in a lightning-fast dash. A flash of light cuts across the arena, trying to split our hero in half in the blink of an eye. Leaping high, he escapes the deadly attack by a hair's breadth, leaving her swinging at nothing. In disbelief, the girl doesn't understand how a simple jump was enough to dodge the lightning. Upside down in the air, he analyzes the magnetic trick used on her sword's sheath. Landing with style, our hero praises her skill but points out that something important is missing. Confused by the technical analysis, she pauses for a moment while he criticizes her obsession with speed. By creating magnetic rails in the air, her attack becomes extremely predictable to those who know what to look for. No matter how fast the attack is, coming in a straight line is just asking to be dodged. Annoyed by the lecture, the girl tells him to stop acting like such a smart aleck. A new burst of lightning erupts as she promises to win through sheer force. With an easy dodge, our guy taunts her, asking if she ever thinks before she acts. Her body begins to strain as she blindly forces so much mana to try and hit him. If she keeps up this frantic pace, she'll end up destroying herself before she hits her target. Appearing behind her in a flash, he decides to end this game right now. He quietly tells her to raise her left hand if she feels too much pain. With a precise touch on her vital points, her mana connection is instantly severed. With no control over her legs, the girl's body immediately gives way and falls to the ground. The impact of the fall echoes through the stadium, marking the defeat of the favorite. In the audience, there's a collective shock as they see the academy's top student lose so easily. As she passes out, it's clear that her excessive focus on magic left her physical body weak. Even wanting to get up at all costs, her stubbornness is the only thing she has left. Amused, our hero notes that she actually did raise her hand as he asked. Watching through the cameras, the analyst with glasses is in total shock at the level of skill displayed. Interrupting the victory, the announcer declares a sudden and urgent change in the schedule. Confused, our guy doesn't understand why he's being told to rest right now. To everyone's surprise, a special match against a professional hunter is hastily arranged. The order came directly from the association's president, leaving the organizers sweating nervously. On the big screen, the silhouette of the new opponent makes the crowd vibrate with pure excitement and anticipation. Realizing it's a setup, our hero activates his senses to see who's really coming. Sticking a gigantic sword into the ground, a grand entrance is made with style. Apologizing for the sudden intrusion, a female voice dominates the atmosphere. Finally revealing herself, Lee Si-eun of the Janabi Guild introduces herself for the fight. Finding the stage too small for the rookie, the rank 10 hunter proposes a duel right there. Understanding the weight of the challenge, he knows he's facing one of the best in the world. Given her overwhelming aura, winning with this weak body will be an almost impossible task. But instead of fear, a smile of pure excitement appears on our hero's face. Accepting the challenge on the spot, he even leaves the narrator stammering in surprise at his courage. Noticing his unwavering confidence, the woman praises the rookie's boldness. As medics carry away the loser, our hero focuses on his goal of impressing everyone. This is the perfect chance to prove he's not just any amateur in this world. Wielding his weapon, he decides to raise his market value to the skies with this fight. The clash of weapons is brutal, and the woman's physical strength is terrifying to block. Struggling to hold back the impact, sparks fly everywhere on the defense. During the exchange of blows, Seon notices that his speed has dropped considerably compared to the beginning. Panting and sweating, our guy feels the limits of this fragile body weighing on him. Impressed, she comments that she expected 5 minutes, but the fight has already lasted for 30 intense minutes. Determined to end the fight, the giant sword comes down to crush him for good. With no mana in the atmosphere and completely exhausted, defeat seems certain at that critical moment. Having no other choice, he decides to use the dangerous trump card he's been saving. Upon summoning the paradoxical phantom flame, the ancient power awakens, glowing in his eye. An explosion of dark energy blocks the finishing blow, surprising everyone in the arena. Unscathed, the hunter doesn't understand how he stopped that impossible attack with such force. Engulfed in blue and black flames, our hero reveals his true combat nature. By revealing the technique's name, he presents the fire that defies the logic of this world. This is the power that ensured his survival in that other realm for years on end without rest. Curiously, the black flames don't burn clothes or physical matter around them. These flames use abstract concepts as fuel, consuming ego, memory, and reason. Suddenly, his speed increases drastically, leaving his opponent completely confused. The target of the flames now is the concept of fatigue, instantly renewing his body. Surprised as she defends the attack, she can't believe the rookie's miraculous recovery. The exchange of blows becomes insane again, with metal clashing against metal at high speed. Feeling the mana fluctuate in the air, Si-eun tries to understand the origin of that strange energy. By burning away fatigue, the flame releases pure mana as a byproduct of the mystical combustion. The system works like a perfect cycle, using mana to burn fatigue and generate more mana. With infinite energy now, his movements don't stop for a single second. Charging at the rank 10, he imposes his own frantic pace on the battle. His specialty has always been wars of attrition, where the enemy tires out before he does. Looking her straight in the eye, he shows he has the stamina to fight all day if needed. Planting his feet firmly on the ground, he ensures he will never let go of his captured prey. Even covered in black flames and visibly tired, his determination does not waver. Smiling sarcastically, our guy asks if she likes persistent people. Not liking the joke at all, the hunter bluntly replies that she hates that type of person. Just like wood turning to ash, the phantom flame consumes everything until only residue is left. In total, it was 4 hours and 17 minutes of insane battle until the end. Lying on the ground, drained of strength, he begs for mercy when she suggests continuing. Immediately, the announcer declares Lee Si-eun the winner after the rookie's technical forfeit. In complete shock, the assistants realize their boss gave him a special treat. Handing him a giant lollipop, she congratulates him on his effort and leaves a hidden business card. Curious about the card, he sees the name Monkey LLC, and wonders what kind of organization it is. Giving a wink, Si-eun tells him to call later if he wants to discuss the details of his future. As he's called to the stage for the award ceremony, the question about this agency pounds in his head. With a loud crack of the lollipop, the sound of the candy breaking is satisfyingly loud. Later, checking his new phone, he's surprised by the technology of the digital license. Suddenly approached in the hallway, someone calls his name in a deep voice. When he turns around, he comes face to face with a scar-covered giant who commands respect. Just by looking at him, our hero figures the big guy is easily over 2 meters tall. Extending a card, the man introduces himself as Yoon Song-hyun from the Great Purity Guild. With an intimidating smile, the veteran promises that under his guidance, the rookie will shine. However, the memory of the previous invitation from Hunter Si-eun makes him hesitate to answer. Playing it cool, he puts the card in his pocket and tries to slip away, saying he'll think about it. Laughing loudly, the giant scoffs at his naivety for thinking he could leave without an answer. Feeling a heavy hand grip his shoulder tightly, the mood instantly becomes tense. Bringing his face close with a threatening smile, the man warns him to choose very carefully. Making a quick escape, our hero says his goodbyes, feeling danger breathing down his neck. Already far away, he decides on the spot that he wants to stay away from that scary guild. Calling Si-eun's number, he asks where he should go to get away from that mess. Over the phone he finds out the meeting spot is a coffee shop called The Hut. Arriving in front of the place, the wooden sign confirms he's in the right spot. Welcoming him, the attendant makes the coffee shop's atmosphere feel very cozy. Waving from a table, the hunter comments that he arrived quickly and invites him to sit. Finding the name of the place strange, our hero asks if something happened to make them meet there. Getting straight to the point, he tells her that a huge guy tried to forcefully recruit him in the hallway just now. She immediately recognizes the guy from Great Purity and assures him that no one will bother him anymore. Afraid of losing the chance, he asks if her agency will give up on him too. Calmly, with the spoon in her mouth, she says she has no intention of recruiting him for the guild. Suggesting something unusual, she proposes that he work as a freelancer, not tied to anyone. The giant probably wanted to make him a junior, which would be a waste of talent. Confused by the terms, he asks for an explanation of what being a junior or a partner means. Drawing a simple diagram, she shows that the hierarchy is divided into 3 basic levels. Basically, juniors and seniors are just salaried employees who follow orders from above. Partners, on the other hand, are like co-owners who share the real profits from missions. Comparing it to law firms, our guy quickly understands how the system works. Concluding the lesson, she explains that it's not mandatory to join a guild to become a partner. Understanding the logic, he realizes he needs to become famous for guilds to come after him. Satisfied, she confirms that the boy is smart and caught on quickly. However, getting good missions without connections or prior experience is almost impossible on your own. With a cunning smile, she offers to arrange everything for him for free to get him started. Suspicious of so much kindness, he sucks on his candy, trying to find the catch. Handing him the paperwork, she says she just wants him to remember Monkey fondly in the future. Placing an envelope on the table, the choice to accept the mission or not is entirely his. Inside the package is a request for help from Jadongdo Island in Incheon. Reading the details, the task is to patrol and destroy the remaining erosion cores. Paying 5 million upfront with a success bonus, the deadline is in 1 month. Considering the risk involved, he shamelessly complains about the measly pay. Laughing at his greed, the hunter tells him to get strong and famous to make big money. Serious now, she looks the boy in the eye and demands a final answer on the proposal. In the heavy rain, someone on the phone questions if the rookie is good enough. Confirming his skill, Seon says the civilian destroyed the tournament using only his hands. Behind the wheel, she corrects herself, saying that good is an understatement for the monster he is. On the other end, the boss is doubtful, thinking she went too easy on him because of his age. Remembering 10 years in that other world, she knows she should have just toyed with any ordinary rookie. Sincerely, she feels that there will never be another talent like him on Earth again. Showing the coastal landscape, the scene of the next mission seems calm but hides dangers. Worried, the boss asks about the boy's safety alone among the beasts. Staring at the veterans, the reception for the rookie doesn't seem friendly, judging by their glares. With a hand on his sword, someone guarantees that everything is under control if things get ugly. Cleverly, she says she placed someone trustworthy to team up with and watch over the boy. With a mysterious smile, she comments that the boss might feel threatened by his potential. If Chan-suk reaches her level in the future, no one will ever be able to stop him. Equipped and carrying a huge sword, our hero is ready to take down anything. A month earlier, we see him working as a delivery man, carrying heavy boxes in the building. Ringing the doorbell, he complains about the absurd weight of that blasted package. As soon as the door opens, he checks the number of the next package, trying to finish his shift. Finally, the package arrives at the apartment door, bringing the new equipment. Dragging the heavy box inside, the absurd size of the package catches his eye. Wielding the new spear, our hero feels that the weight and balance are perfect. Right after, he grabs a vial containing a concentrated mana elixir for emergencies. Usually hunters use mana like they drink water from a purifier and store it in their bodies. However, his technique is different, skipping the storage and absorbing it directly from the atmosphere. Thanks to this, there's no limit to its use, since the source is the air itself. Furthermore, the more mana passes through his blood vessels, the stronger they become over time. But until his body can handle the intense flow, it's best to store a little using the elixir. Training hard for a month, the goal is to strengthen his body as much as possible before the mission. Arriving at Gadong Island, the coastal scenery hides the dangers that await. Scanning the code on his phone, he checks in at the security barrier. With his identity confirmed, he finds out he's been assigned to Team 8 for this operation. Looking for the group, he finds a somewhat unenthusiastic bunch with someone sleeping in the corner. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls his name, making him freeze on the spot. Noticing the girl's hair, he comments that it's much calmer now than at the tournament, suggesting they work together. Han saying, Ah seems to have moved past the humiliating defeat. Admitting she has more raw mana, our hero tries to be humble by complaining about his shoulder. From her expression, the joke didn't land, and she remains as serious as ever. Calling for full focus, a guy with glasses interrupts the pair's chit-chat. Starting the briefing, the group leader gets everyone's attention. Since there are rookies on the team, he decides to explain the basic terminology of the zones. The corruption areas are classified from grade 1 to 3, plus unranked ones. Currently, the church to the north is an unranked alpha zone and extremely dangerous. Our mission is to patrol the Upnary area and eliminate any new cores that appear. Hearing this, the other rookies get tense, afraid of facing monsters right away. Disembarking on the island, the atmosphere immediately becomes heavy with the evil presence in the air. Feeling a chill down his spine, the temperature seems to have dropped several degrees suddenly. Ignoring the rookies' instincts, the veterans think the kids are just overreacting. Monitored by the offshore command center, any emergency must be reported via radio. Wishing them good luck, the team is cleared to begin the sweep of the area. Opening the map, the leader suggests covering the two areas over the course of a full week. Interrupting the planning, our hero raises his hand with a relevant question. Pointing to the Wagaza temple, he suggests setting up their operational base up there. Questioned by the veteran about who he thinks he is, the tension in the group rises. Explaining his tactic, he says that from up high, they can see the entire Yupneri and Jiadong region. Arguing against the idea, the Four Eyes says that climbing the mountain is asking to be surrounded. Sighing deeply, our guy realizes that arguing with stubborn amateurs is a waste of time. Deciding to act on his own, he suggests the group split up right there. Leaping into the forest, he and the swordswoman go their own way, far from the idiots. Looking back, he notices that someone else decided to follow the crazy duo. Asking for his reason, the guy named Kim Min Jae says he preferred to trust their instincts. In reality, the young man was afraid of leaving two rookies alone in the woods. Sharply telling them to stop, our hero senses something wrong up ahead. Signaling for silence, he points to a rock asking for complete discretion. Peeking through the vegetation, a gigantic horde of monsters blocks the path. Terrified, the mage suggests they go around, as there are at least 50 enemies there. Keeping his cool, our hero asks what the scaredy cat's innate trait is. Confused by the question at a time like this, the guy stammers, not understanding the plan. Answering that it's fire and his ability is fireball, hope emerges. Satisfied with the answer, our improvised leader orders the first attack now. In disbelief, the mage thinks it's suicidal for 3 people to face that army. Arguing that it's their first mission, panic starts to set in. Trying to evade responsibility, he suggests calling the others on the radio. Pointing to the map, our hero proves that backup is too far away on the coast. If they wait for support, the monsters will spread out and take down other, weaker hunters. Realizing the cold, hard logic, the mage accepts that there's no other choice. Besides, after their argument, the veterans might not even come to help anytime soon. Facing reality, the only way out is to solve the problem here and now, at a disadvantage. Drawing in the dirt, he explains the ambush fire in the center and cover from the sides. Impressed by the tactical precision, the mage agrees, feeling like he's with a veteran. Focusing all his power in his hand, the flames begin to crackle violently. Shouting the attack command, the fireball flies, illuminating the dark forest. Exploding in the middle of the horde, chaos erupts with monsters burning and screaming. Panting, the mage says he needs some time to recharge for the next spell. Acknowledging this, our hero immediately jumps into physical action. Valuing efficiency above all else, every one of his movements has a lethal purpose. Blocking the beasts that try to advance, he buys precious time for the mage. Cutting through flesh and bone, the spear dances in the air, protecting the rear. Alone, he holds back the wave of enemies, knowing he can't let anyone get past. Reflecting on the battle, he reinforces that a division of labor is the key to victory. Taking down another monster, its remains fly as the spell charges behind him. Shouting that he's ready, the mage announces that the second fireball is coming. Confident in his own agility, our hero tells him to fire even though he's in the middle of the mess. With a deafening boom, the explosion consumes everything around, clearing the area. With a blast of light, the forest trembles under the impact of the combined spells. Shouting to finish the job, our hero orders them to take down the 2 remaining ones now. Victorious, he maintains a firm stance with his spear in hand after the intense combat. Praising the group's performance, he acknowledges they did a good job with the ambush. Suddenly, the mage calls for attention, holding a strange device in his hand. Excusing himself, Min Jae asks the leader to step back a bit from the smoking carcass. Explaining the process, he begins to implant a microchip into the monster's carcass for tracking. Curious, our guy listens about the scrap dealers, who collect the spoils afterward. Basically, the team clears the area, and a third-party company comes to collect anything of value. After the sale, the profit is divided among the family of the fallen hunter, or the contracting team. Worried about scams, our hero asks if these guys are really trustworthy. Amazed, Min Jae comments on how incredible it was to see his colleague take everything down alone at the front. Out of nowhere, a boom from the sky interrupts the conversation with a brutal landing. Thrown back by the shockwave, everyone tries to recover from the surprise impact. As the dust settles, a new threat emerges, forcing them to raise their guard. Analyzing the enemy's aura, our hero realizes things just got serious. Emerging from the smoke, a winged monster with red horns reveals itself imposingly. Cursing under his breath, he understands that their luck has just turned against them. Laughing sinisterly, the creature seems to be the boss of that weakling mob. Feeling the absurd magical pressure, our hero orders everyone not to interfere in the fight. Stubbornly, Min Jae argues that if they fight together, they can buy time to escape. Yelling furiously, our hero tells them to fall back before they end up in a body bag. Startled by the scolding, the 2 rookies freeze for a second, unsure of what to do. Determined to handle it alone, he charges forward, preferring not to have to protect anyone while he fights. Calling the beast out, he taunts the giant bat without any fear. Clashing violently, the spear blocks the claws, creating a shockwave in the air. Worried, the girl asks if they really shouldn't help their companion in danger. However, Min Jae watches closely and says there's no need for intervention right now. Dodging masterfully, our guy hasn't suffered a single scratch so far. Observing more closely, the swordswoman notices that there's something more happening in the battle. Imagining herself in his place, she knows that just dodging would be the human limit. But with each thrust of the spear, a strange black flame sticks to the monster's body. As the fire accumulates, the beast's movements become visibly slower and heavier. Smiling confidently, our hero starts toying with the creature that once seemed invincible. In disbelief, the girl wonders how a rookie can have so much skill. With a sidestep, he escapes a devastating attack that shatters the stone ground. Gliding across the terrain, his movement is as fluid as water dodging his end. Surprising everyone, he throws his spear high into the air in the middle of the frantic combat. Utterly shocked, the mage doesn't understand why someone would throw away their weapon at a time like this. Warning of the danger, he yells as he sees the monster charge straight at him. Staring down his fate, our hero doesn't blink in the face of the sharp fangs. Smashed against the ground, the beast feels the impact but doesn't go down that easily. Impressed by the creature's resilience, our guy notices it's still moving. Activating his glowing eyes, it's time to end this nonsense once and for all, without mercy. Jaws agape, the spectators can barely keep up with the speed of the brutal finish. Confused, the mage tries to process how the monster fell so quickly when it seemed to be winning. Calling his colleague, our hero asks for his attention to an important detail about the enemy. Questioning the normality of the situation, he points out that the creature shouldn't be there. According to official classification, erosion units have 4 distinct danger levels. Considering that thing's power, the island's level has risen to at least grade 3. Countering the information, the girl recalls that the briefing said it was an unclassified zone. Realizing the gravity of the mistake, the difference in power means certain doom for many. Unfortunately, most of the hunters who entered the island are likely already done for. Desperate to help, Min-jae suggests they go save the other groups immediately. Coldly, our hero rejects the idea, claiming there's no way to save everyone by himself. Agreeing with the harsh logic, the swordswoman reminds him that the mission is to eliminate the target. Even so, she confronts the leader, asking how he would feel if he were the victim. Surely anyone would feel wronged and beg for help in this terrible situation. With a grim look, he explains that it's not a lack of empathy, but a cold analysis. Recalling his dark past, he knows all too well that there are unavoidable losses in war. When facing a certain end, it doesn't matter what you think or feel, the outcome is the same. Advising the duo, he warns them never to hesitate in desperate situations like this. Surviving in this world requires a steel-like mentality that they haven't yet developed. Arriving at the temple on the mountaintop, the place seems empty and safe for now. Peeking into the darkness, Min-jae confirms there are no signs of hidden monsters nearby. Thanks to the distant lights, our hero can map the position of the other idiot teams. Stating the obvious, he grumbles that turning on lights at night is just asking to get taken out quickly. If that gargoyle shows up near them, it will be a huge mess in the darkness. Taking out his phone, he decides to send a general alert to everyone on the local network. Typing the message, he warns about the grade 3 monster and tells them to turn off their lights. Reflecting on the mission, he remembers that destroying the core ends the erosion zone. Confirming the theory, the girl says that without the core's energy, the monsters disappear. Looking at the moon, he decides that the sole focus should be on finding and destroying that core. Placing a sensor on the ground, he sets up a perimeter so they can rest a bit in safety. Explaining how it works, he says the device will beep if anything approaches. Alone in the darkness, our guide checks the target's position before making a move. Leaping from the cliff, he lands with style, thinking it's all going to be a piece of cake. But that feeling of ease is usually a sign of trouble ahead. Crawling in the shadows, a gruff voice asks if it's him again. Appearing out of nowhere, a giant purple wolf stares down our hero with a deadly glare. Meanwhile, in the control room, chaos reigns with reports of organized monsters. Confirming the loss of a hunter from Team 3, the operator goes into a full panic. Shouting for reinforcements, the situation spirals out of control, requiring urgent help from everyone in the area. Suddenly, someone is detected running straight for the Alpha Erosion Core. Ordering the intruder to stop, the chief demands to know who the suicidal fool is. Identifying the signal, they discover it's Yu-chan, Sok from the rookie teammate. In disbelief, the operator sees that the erosion level has risen, and the boy hasn't stopped. Connecting to the radio, our hero's response is a yell, cursing the wrong classification. Running like lightning, he complains that the creatures are much faster than expected. Cursing the association for being incompetent, he says if he were rank C, he'd be gone by now. It's confirmed that the boy is alive, but his current phantom flame doesn't have enough finishing power. Against strong enemies, the strategy is to wear them down with fire and finish them with the spear. However, that giant monster gives no openings and refuses to go down. Having used too much mana in the previous fight, his energy reserves are dangerously low. With no way off the island, the only chance is to find a mana-rich place to recharge. Spotting a purple glow in the forest, he finally finds the source he needed. Dodging the monster's beams, the chase continues relentlessly. Taunting the beast, he says it needs to be faster if it wants to catch him. With a macabre smile, he announces he has something important to check out nearby. Losing his GPS signal, the command room goes blind to his location. Entering the Alpha Core, the operator reports that the boy has disappeared from the radar. Inside the barrier, the environment is strangely clean and silent. Compared to rank 1 and 2 cores, this space seems way too big. Apparently, the erosion energy cleared everything around, creating a perfect arena. Reappearing for the final round, the purple wolf blocks the path, ready to strike. Roaring loudly, the beast prepares its decisive attack against the intruder. Gripping the spear's handle, our hero reflects on his flame's biggest flaw. Unfortunately, the black fire spreads to any living being without distinction. Even if allies are nearby, the flame burns everything that isn't him. If the level gets too high, he loses control and ends up taking down his comrades. That's why he couldn't use his full power before, but now, the story is different. Blocking the purple energy, the impact throws him back violently. Strengthened by the core, the monster seems to have gotten even tougher. Smiling in relief, our guy realizes that fighting alone removes all his restrictions. Unleashing his deadly aura, the real fun starts now. Sucking in the ambient mana, the energy flows through every corner of his body. Expanding his magic channels, his muscles react, becoming denser. Feeling the efficiency increase, the power flows much better than he expected. Coughing up some fluid, the monster feels the weight of our protagonist's new strength. Laughing at the beast's face, he asks if it understands what's happening. Trying to flee, the wolf runs for open ground, seeking an advantage. Howling at the sky, it summons an army of smaller gargoyles to help. Pitying the creature's stupidity, our hero warns that numbers mean nothing now. Exploding in black flames, the minions are incinerated in seconds without a chance. Compared to the hell of the other world, this core is just child's play. Suddenly the fire goes out, leaving only silence in the air. Holding the spear with both hands, he focuses completely on his opponent. Mocking the monster, he asks if it waited for the flame to die down before attacking. Now wearing a smooth mask, the creature has evolved to a whole new level. Calculating the odds, our hero bets on a 4-hit combo to win. Charging forward at top speed, the clash is imminent. Firing a beam of light, the monster tries to intercept the suicidal charge. Shouting the technique's name, Dual Moon Spear, he cuts the energy in half. Colliding with the beast's shield, sparks illuminate the core's darkness. Pausing for a moment, the enemy doesn't understand what just happened. Basically, a blue trail follows the path of the main attack like a shadow. Perfectly copying the first blow, the technique repeats the impact 4 times. Attacking together is simple, but the secret lies in the delay time. Intentionally delaying the trail turns it into a deadly dance impossible to dodge. Taking the delayed combo, the monster's mask cracks under the pressure. Cutting deep, the spear pierces its defense, shattering the creature. Declaring the fight over, he watches the enemy crumble. No longer resisting, the boss's body is sliced apart by the residual energy. Trying to escape like smoke, the monster's soul is captured before it can vanish. Falling to the ground, a mysterious box glows, catching his attention. Opening the rare loot, he's curious about the prize left by the boss. From the look on his face, the item must be something very valuable or surprising. Meanwhile, at the base, the maps show the erosion swallowing the entire island. Unable to land, the reinforcements are useless against the magical interference. Desperate, the commander watches the situation spiral out of control, fearing the end for everyone. Hoping for a miracle, the section chief barely breathes as he watches the monitors in the control room. Receiving the urgent message, he reads the report with eyes wide with pure shock. Projecting it on the central screen, the notice confirms the complete clearing of the Alpha erosion core. Immediately, the monster signals disappear from the radar, confirming the impossible victory. Calling it a miracle, the operator questions if it really happened. Asking how on earth a rookie did this, a stunned silence reigns in the room. Breathing the fresh night air, the atmosphere on the island changes completely with the end of the corruption. Looking around, the swordswoman notices that the crushing pressure has suddenly vanished. Panting and injured, she realizes that Yu-chan, Suk disappeared into the darkness along with the monsters. Worried about his disappearance, she wonders where her partner went after everything. Doubting they would make it out alive, the fear of their end was real just minutes ago for the group. At his physical limit, Kim Min-jae could barely stand from exhaustion. Holding her sword with a trembling hand, the girl also didn't know how much longer she could last. Facing a furious gargoyle, the end seemed certain for the surrounded and weakened duo. Losing feeling in his legs, the mage falls to the ground, accepting his cruel fate. Shouting his companion's name, he tries to warn her of the beast's imminent attack. Collapsing from exhaustion, she closes her eyes, waiting for the final blow that never comes. Disintegrating into the air, the monster turns to black dust right before their eyes. Casually walking through the meeting point, our hero arrives as if nothing happened. Recognizing their colleague, the survivors shout his name, unable to believe he's alive. Whispering among themselves, the other hunters doubt he cleared the level 3 core alone. Finding the duo alive, he waves casually, happy to see them in one piece after the chaos. Showing the completion message, the mage asks in shock how he got the idea to go solo. Making up a noble excuse, he says he lured the monsters away to save his injured friends. Faking humility, he thinks that if he had known it would be this hard, he would have bailed sooner. Formally introducing himself, a man in a suit approaches our hero at the area's exit. Recognizing the guy, he remembers that this was the one who sent him there in the first place. Under the light rain, the city hall building commands respect in the gray urban scene. Sensing the political game, he notes that using people is common among the powerful old folks here. Since the contract didn't mention an extra reward, negotiating now is the best possible move. Greeting the hero, the manager tries to be friendly at the rainy reception. Right beside him, another official introduces himself as the city's communication and cooperation officer. Informing him that the mayor is eager to meet, they guide the boy through the corridors of power. Praising his achievement, the official mentions that the mayor even cancelled his morning schedule just to see him. Modest but sharp, our hero says it was tough even for a great senior to handle that. Thinking to himself, the official shudders, imagining the true power level of this monster rookie. Thanking him for the visit, the politician's voice echoes in the luxurious room filled with bodyguards. Smiling broadly, Mayor Park Ji-yeon introduces himself with that typical good guy face. Inviting him to sit, he orders coffee to make the guest comfortable for the negotiation. Praising his service, he calls our guy the hero who saved the country this time. Venting about his problems, the mayor explains how the island was a budgetary headache. Confirming the facts, our hero just nods along, drinking his coffee in silence. Getting up excitedly, the politician admires that such a talent began his journey in Incheon. Lecturing on security, he proudly calls Korea the safest country in the world. Thanks to the airport and infrastructure, the city is a vital logistics hub for the nation. Flooded with foreign investors, the economic region is fiercely competed for by capital. Excited about the flowing money, he clenches his fist, talking about the city's commercial success. Promising full support, he guarantees that the hunter's path will be paved with success. Cutting the small talk, the mayor asks a direct question about the young man's real goal. Curious, he wants to know what motivates someone to risk their life hunting dangerous monsters. Using a dirty metaphor, our hero talks about unclogging a toilet overflowing with filth. Hearing the blunt answer, the mayor is momentarily speechless at his frankness. Predicting the future, he says the boy will become famous and soon receive commercial offers. Faking concern, he warns about hunters who get lost in fame and forget their duty. Naturally, the real danger is right there on the border, with monsters roaming the erosion zones. Considering Korea the last sanctuary, its security is fragile and driven only by capital. Praising the achievement, the driver reflects on the importance of the feat while driving. Rooting for the young man, he hopes this beacon of hope doesn't get extinguished in the political darkness. Looking at the rain through the window, he wonders how much they offered after that nice speech. Smirking, our hero knows the politician gave himself away too easily in the conversation. Having suffered from this kind of manipulation in the past, he no longer falls for such sweet talk. Naming his price, he asks what he'll get in return for all the support offered. Surprised by the direct attitude, the mayor stammers without an immediate reaction to the demand. Showing his phone, our guy proves he's well informed about the current political situation. Reading the news, it's clear the mayor's re-election next year is almost impossible. Breaking into a cold sweat, the politician realizes he underestimated the rookie's intelligence and preparation. Unlike the public, our hero knows he needed special permission from the mayor to enter the island. Connecting the dots, he accuses the mayor of wanting to use his image to win easy votes. Showing a coffee brand, the mayor suggests putting the hero's face on the packaging as a model. Calling it Infinite Possibilities, he tries to sell the idea of cheap sponsorship. Getting up from his chair in disgust, our hero says he must seem very cheap to receive such an offer. Trying to justify himself, the mayor says the world needs a new face to change the grim mood. Cutting off the lame excuse, he decides to make things very clear before leaving. Staring down the politician, he states that anything the mayor can give, he can take for himself. Rejecting the offer of safe missions, he turns his back on the uninteresting proposal and leaves. On the phone, the executive orders them to send immediate congratulations to the brand's new model. Apparently, the renewal of the commercial contract is already guaranteed with the young man's massive success. Meanwhile, in a dark, rainy alley, a mysterious figure receives the mission report. Under his hood, the man laments, reporting that the test on Jaedong Island was a total failure. With not much to do, the superior accepts the excuse but adds that there's also good news. Curious about the notification, the hooded man stares at his phone screen, his face illuminated in the rain. In the viral video, Yoo Chan-suk's insane performance leaves anyone speechless. Impressed by what he sees, a wicked smile appears on his face at the sight of such raw talent. Soon after, the official Hunter ranking for September 2025 is released to the public. In the kitchen, a son excitedly yells for his mom to see the urgent news on TV. Even on the streets, delinquents comment in confusion about the new name that appeared at the top out of nowhere. Lying in his hospital bed, the mage Min Jae cheers, Seeing that his friend got the recognition he deserved, back at the association headquarters, the secretary hands the final report to President Moon Jae-tae. Cleaning her giant sword, Si-eun anxiously wonders if the rookie made it onto the list. Analyzing the data, the president admits that this time, the result was completely off the charts. To the world's elite, the only thing that really matters are the top 10 names on the list. In 10th place is Lee Si-eun, who quickly made a name for herself in the rankings with her sword. Right above in 5th position is Kim Chae-hein showing off her deadly daggers. Burning everything. In 3rd place is the fire user Choi Yeo-reem, surrounded by flames, with absurd brute force. 2nd place goes to the armored giant Jang Tae-suk, and shocking the entire world, 1st place is taken by the rookie, Yu Chan-suk. Excusing himself, the secretary announces the meeting is over, and our hero is dismissed from the room. In his hands, he holds the official hunter registration certificate for the year 2025. In the headlines, his name explodes as the fastest entry into the rankings in human history. If it were a veteran clearing the area, it would be normal, but with a rookie on his debut, the world goes crazy. Surrounded by microphones, reporters bombard him with questions about his previous profession and strategy. Mentally, he feels like he's in one of those children's talent shows with so much unwanted attention. Demanding an answer, a journalist wants to know his mindset for the future as a hunter. With a sharp look, our guy announces he's going to skip the usual cliché motivational speech. With no empty promises, he declares that from now on, only his results will speak for him. Flying over the area, the scene of destruction below indicates a colossal mess occurred. Through the window, our hero comments that the situation abroad is just as bad as it is here. Sitting in front, the president explains that Korea only survived by investing everything in defense and technology. Unfortunately, many countries weren't as lucky, and their capitals vanished from the map when the zones appeared. Noticing the young man's interest, the old man asks if he wants to see the horror up close. Pointing to the giant crater, he introduces Gunsalok, one of the 8 great erosion zones. 13 years ago, this monstrosity appeared in the city center, expanding its deadly circle. Without any warning or sign, the apocalypse simply sprouted from the ground that day. As the space instantly became an erosion zone, most people couldn't even run. In a matter of a few days, an entire city was silently wiped from existence. Resuming the political talk, the president comments on how the central government's power weakened with this. Getting straight to the point, our guy thanks him for the history lesson, but questions the reason for the trip. Seriously, the old man reveals that the leader of the Great Purity Guild came to see him days ago, furious. With a veiled threat, the brute demanded that the president make the rookie make the right decision. To our hero's shock, the villain wanted to know exactly where he lived. Obviously, the president refused to give the address but warns that the guild's philosophy is survival of the fittest. Clicking his tongue, our hero knows that at his current level, he would be crushed in a brute force confrontation. Observing the boy's posture, the old man correctly deduces that he prefers to work alone. To avoid being hunted, the suggestion is to take high-level missions directly from the association to gain influence. Seeing the play, our hero immediately asks what the price for all this help is, and what he wants in return. Playing the good guy, the old man says he just wants credit for the help, but in reality, they both gain reputation. Handing him a brown envelope, he assures that the first mission is a simple matter to resolve. Basically, the job is to escort a cargo ship carrying essential supplies from Busan to Nanning. Reading the cargo list, our guy scoffs when he sees luxury watches and porcelain classified as necessities. Cynically, the president argues that for the elite, these items remain indispensable even in the apocalypse. With no patience for frivolities, our hero questions why they're sending trash to a destroyed country. Explaining the geopolitics, the old man says these gifts keep international relations alive like grace. Tearing up the paper on the spot, he realizes it's just a glorified bribe and immediately refuses the job. Desperate, the president tries to argue that it's a vital mission for the Korean government. With a cold smile, he warns that getting involved in dirty politics is a job for idiots, not hunters. Annoyed by the refusal, the old man says that fame has gone to his head and become poison for the rookie. However, the warning goes in one ear and out the other, given the young man's stubbornness. Opening the helicopter door mid-flight, he sends the president into a total panic with his craziness. Thanking him sarcastically for the ride, he jumps into the void without a parachute or anything. Before falling, he says he'll swim back to Seoul, leaving the old man in disbelief in the cabin. Cutting through the sky in a free fall, he feels the adrenaline before the imminent impact. With a giant crash, he hits the water, raising a violent column of foam. From up there, the president can only shake his head, complaining about the audacity of today's youth. Meanwhile, at the port of Incheon, the sun sets, illuminating the containers in the sea. Quietly sipping coffee, a worker hears a strange noise coming from the water. Emerging like a sea monster, our hero gasps for air, clearing his lungs. Complaining about the crazy thing he just did, he admits he thought he was really going to be done for on the way down. Climbing onto the drenched pier, He acknowledges the confused stare of the worker who understands nothing. Wringing the water from his clothes, the goal now is to focus purely on getting stronger at any cost. Determined, he plans to take the trashiest and most dangerous missions that no one wants to become the king of this game. Determined not to be anyone's puppet, our hero leaves the politicians behind with their dirty offers. Browsing his phone for honest work, a decent mission finally appears on the screen. Without a second thought, the accept button is pressed, confirming the rescue on Tsushima Island. According to the system's estimate, the erosion level is grade 2, which indicates real danger. Sighing in relief as he watches the sunset, he knows he made the right choice by refusing the bribe. For sure, his schedule will be packed from now on, now that he's decided to work seriously. According to the reports, the trouble began when fishermen went out for the shrimp season. However, the sea was strange and different from usual for that time of year. Appearing out of nowhere, erosion entities invaded the boats, taking the crew as prey. Fortunately, a survivor confirmed that the hostages are still alive in the monster's lair. To sum up the task, the objective is to go to the island, save the people, and eliminate the beasts. Analyzing the details at home, the mission seems simple and straightforward on paper. But what really shines in his eyes is the hefty reward of 55 million won. If he handles it all by himself, that money goes straight into his pocket without sharing with anyone. Besides the money, success in this endeavor guarantees a heroic story and instant fame. It's worth the challenge, although there are rumors about the absurd strength of these ranked entities. While a third-class monster has the destructive force of an armored tank, a second-class creature is comparable to a natural disaster sweeping through everything in its path. As for first-class ones, they require the entire nation to mobilize to prevent total annihilation. Lying in bed, our hero wonders if he can handle a grade 2 alone with just the phantom flame. Unfortunately, top-tier hunters don't even look at private requests like this rescue mission. Arriving at the meeting point at the port, he realizes he might not have to go alone after all. To his surprise, the figure waiting on the boat's bow is none other than Han Sang-ai. In a tight tactical suit, she coldly asks how much longer until they reach the island. Scratching the back of his neck, he estimates the trip should take about an hour or so. Advising him to save his energy, she warns that this battle will be much worse than the last one. Suddenly, a metallic glint on the girl's shoulder catches our hero's eye. Curious about the Aran Seraphim shoulder guard, he asks where she got such limited edition gear. Apparently, the scrap dealer gave it to her as a gift when she signed the contract. Outraged by the injustice, our guy complains that they didn't even give him a keychain. Feeling wronged, the only reply he gets is to get strong and famous soon. A few days ago, a conversation between the two set the course for this unusual partnership. On that occasion, she approached our hero asking if he needed a teammate. When asked if she could handle it, she admitted she almost met her end against a grade 3 before. Even so, her determination to face a grade 2 left our guy thoughtful. Confronting her desire, he asked if her real goal wasn't just to get stronger. Remembering his words at the tournament, she humbly asked to learn from the one who defeated her. Accepting the proposal, he set the condition that she would have to follow his teachings to the letter. Guaranteeing results, he promised she would become several times more powerful under his tutelage. Sweaty and tired from training, she accepted the challenge without a second's hesitation. Because she has a very strong personal reason, the quest for power is a matter of life or something else for her. Looking at the girl now, he hopes that determination holds up when it really counts. Willing to dive into her own personal struggle, she stares at the horizon, focused on the mission. Suddenly, the boat's alarm sounds, warning of unidentified objects ahead. In the midst of the fog, ghostly silhouettes of old ships appear, blocking the sea. Counting quickly, the duo spots 5 enemy ships surrounding the passage. Since there are civilian hostages, the approach needs to be stealthy to not alert the monsters. Asking if the girl has any tricks up her sleeve, she begins to float slightly, teasing his partner. Our hero doubts she can carry someone with her. From her silence, it's clear there is a way to cross over the top. Red with anger at the provocation, she asks if he's doubting her abilities. Laughing at her face, he enjoys seeing the explosive reaction of his serious companion. A little later, she carries the big guy on her back, complaining that he's heavy and the water is in the way. Pointing the way, he tells her to block the nearest ship immediately. Feeling the mana fluctuate, he notices the strongest energy is coming from the rear of the fleet. Confirming the order, she adjusts her flight path to intercept the indicated target. Dropping her partner in the air, she tells him to open his eyes and prepare for the fall. Landing on the deck, he comes face to face with armed skeletons ready for combat. Screeching loudly, the undead attack as soon as they notice the invasion. Landing with style, he tells the girl to watch her knees on the landing. Warning about attracting unwanted attention, the fight begins against the horde of skeletons. Smashing bones and wood, the battle on the deck becomes intense in a matter of seconds. Sizing up the enemies, our hero realizes they are just the lowest class of grade 2. However, looking to the side, Han Sang-ai's performance is worrying. Using uncontrolled electricity, she's wasting energy on weak enemies. Shouting her name, he tries to correct her posture in the middle of the chaos. Warning that she's using too much mana, he alerts her that she'll run dry quickly like this. For this level of monster, a much smaller energy output would be enough to finish them. Remembering their tutoring agreement, he demands that she obey and adjust her control now. Frustrated with her own inefficiency, she curses as she tries to regulate the power of her lightning. Still, the attack comes out exaggerated, destroying more than necessary. Demanding a total reduction, our hero wants surgical precision, not random explosions. In her mind, the bitter memory echoes that the life of the weak is a constant tragedy. Vowing never again to live in the darkness of weakness, she focuses on overcoming her past limits. Cutting through her daydream, our hero yells for her to look ahead where the real danger awaits. Summoning a gigantic lightning bolt, she declares she has a very strong reason to seek power at all costs. With her face twisted in determination, the girl says she would dive into her own personal struggle if it made her stronger. As the dust settles, our hero appears, casually asking if the mess is over yet. Giving a thumbs up, he says he has already cleared the remaining ships without any problems. Panting and exhausted, she comments with disdain that those enemies weren't even worth the stubborn effort. Sheathing her sword, she thanks him for the earlier advice, admitting she learned a lot in practice. Walking across the deck, he retorts that at the academy, the veterans should have taught her the basics. Sincerely, she confesses that everyone felt uncomfortable because she learned too quickly and surpassed the instructors. Staring at him with an intense gaze, she claims there has never been a teacher she hasn't eventually surpassed. Hearing this veiled threat, our hero feels slightly annoyed by the prodigy student's audacity. Outlining the extraction plan, he says he'll wait at the meeting point in Geogen and wishes her good luck. Racking his memory, he recalls the survivor saying the hostages are trapped in a sanctuary. Checking the map, the girl points out there are 2 sanctuaries on the island Kaijin and Watatsumi. Pointing to the horizon, he decides to go to Kaijin first, since it's reachable on foot in a few hours. However, the real problem is that they came empty-handed. But the return trip will be much more complicated carrying civilians. According to the information, there are 15 hostages, and transporting them injured on foot is pure suicide. On top of that, the sinister mana in the fog indicates the monsters will hunt them relentlessly on the way back. Looking around, our hero concludes they'll need a vehicle to ensure a safe escape. Finding a parked van, he casually asks if Sang-ah knows how to drive well. Confused by the sudden question, she confirms that she does, without understanding the reason for his doubt. Seconds later, he bitterly regrets it, yelling that this isn't driving, not here, not anywhere. Running over everything in their path, he screams, asking if the brake is just for decoration in this cursed car. Annoyed by the complaint, she tells him to take the wheel if he doesn't like her aggressive driving. Gripping the handle tightly, he gives up the argument, realizing it's better to stay quiet to stay alive. Deep down, he thinks that driving like a maniac is still better than his 20-year-old expired license. Deciding to be useful, he climbs onto the van's roof, saying he'd rather fight than meet his end in a traffic accident. Accelerating up the hill, the vehicle jumps over obstacles on a completely rugged and dangerous terrain, smashing the gargoyles that appear in their path. The impact is brutal against the dented metal. Planting his feet on the roof, our hero praises the van's sturdiness while preparing his spear for combat. Suddenly, he alerts the driver about a swarm of flying monsters coming from the left with everything they've got. With a psychotic smile, she yells to leave it to her and yanks the steering wheel with full force. Before he can protest, the sharp maneuver throws the van sideways, screeching on the dirt. Skidding on the road, the van plows through the horde of monsters, making a strike of undead fly through the air. Laughing like a lunatic, she enjoys watching the creatures fly and roll down the path destroyed. Pale on the roof, our hero is convinced he should have taken the wheel from the start. Finally, the sanctuary appears at the top of the stairs, surrounded by monsters on all sides. Yelling for her to drive the car in, he says he'll hold the rear at the temple entrance. Confident, she confirms she'll handle the rescue inside while he clears the outer area. Accelerating without mercy, she invades the courtyard, leaving her partner behind in the open battle. Leaping from the roof with spear in hand, he faces the crowd of monsters chasing the vehicle. An explosion of purple flames descends from the sky, crushing the creatures on the stairs with devastating force. With a deadly look, he decides to incinerate everything right there to secure the escape route. Inside, our hero finds the fisherman tied up and huddled in fear in a dark corner. Quickly cutting the ropes, he asks if everyone is okay and can walk on their own. Right behind, his partner formally introduces herself as a hunter from the association to reassure the civilians. However, instead of relief, the hostages scream desperately, telling her to get out of there right now. One of the men cries, yelling for them to run while there's still time to escape. Confused by the reaction, The girl doesn't understand the reason for the victim's sudden panic. Behind her, a gigantic shadow rises, revealing an armored electric demon samurai. Sensing the danger, our hero orders her to get the civilians to the car while he holds off the monster. Blocking the first blow, his blade trembles under the absurd weight of the giant samurai's sword. Sparks fly, illuminating the monster's face as it roars, trying to crush our hero like an insect. The impact is so strong that the ground cracks under his feet, forcing him back on the defensive. Seizing the opportunity, the girl rams the van into the monster, running over the samurai. Yelling for the beast to be gone, she floors the accelerator without a care for the van's body. The monster is dragged along the side of the vehicle, violently slamming into the temple's columns. With the path clear, smoke rises, and they manage to escape the immediate combat zone. Furious in the passenger seat, he makes her swear she'll never touch a steering wheel again in her life. Asking about the hostages, she confirms she got everyone inside before flooring it like that. Suddenly, he yells her name, telling her to pay attention to the road ahead urgently. A swarm of undead blocks the path, screaming and throwing themselves in front of the moving vehicle. Looking in the rearview mirror, he notices the armored samurai is still chasing them even after being run over. With no time to waste, he immediately asks to borrow her sword for the fight. Offended, she retorts, asking if he's gone crazy to ask for a swordsman's main weapon. Seriously, he questions if her honor is worth more than the lives of all those people in the car. Understanding the gravity of the situation, she throws the katana to him, catching it in mid-air with precision. Wielding the blade, he feels the weapon's weight and prepares for what needs to be done. Regretting having to use his trump card so early, he activates the secret item he was keeping in his pocket. His memory flashes back to a few days ago when he explored the erosion core on Jadong Island. Amidst the rubble, he found a mysterious box left by the previous stage's boss. The item was a technological glove with a strange, futuristic appearance, glowing in the dark. Upon equipping the accessory, he immediately realized it wasn't an ordinary hunter's gear. The glove's main function is to store mana directly from the surrounding atmosphere like a sponge. For most, it would just be a basic extra battery to supplement their personal mana reserve. But for him, who absorbs infinite energy, the glove serves as a concentrated storage tank for 5 minutes. Energized with the extra mana, our hero feels he can reach Lee Un's level right now. Slashing through the air violently, the sword dances among the enemies, clearing a path with brute force. Looking in the rearview mirror, the girl's jaw drops, unable to believe the massacre. Through the rear window, the wave of monsters was simply wiped off the map in an instant. Sheathing the blade, our hero takes a deep breath, feeling the power flow. Without looking back, he orders them to head straight for the port now that the path is clear. Arriving at high speed, the sign for Hatakajo port indicates the exit is near. Relaxing in his seat, he comments that the hard part is over, and now they just need to escape. However, in the rearview mirror, the horde continues to chase the vehicle with relentless fury. Worried about the smoke from the engine, Sang-ah warns that the car won't last much longer. Flooring it, the van skids, trying to gain distance from those cursed creatures. Suddenly, a blue flash appears, blocking the monster's path behind them. The chase immediately stops as if they hit an invisible, impassable wall. Noticing the magical barrier, the girl understands what just happened. On the tunnel wall, a glowing magic circle pulses, emanating a powerful protective energy. Explaining the trick, our hero reveals he drew a guardian construction method on the wall. Basically, it's a magical zoning system that automatically repels common monsters. When asked where he learned that, the vague answer is always, in another world, to avoid details. Admiring his own work, he notes that his magic circle drawings are becoming professional. Curious, the girl asks if this barrier can hold back any kind of abomination that exists. Looking at the sky, he admits it would be wonderful if it were that easy. Unfortunately, against the high-level, real monsters, this protection is useless. Breaking through the barrier with sheer force, the armored samurai continues its advance, focused on protecting. Feeling the deadly aura chill the air, our hero mentions the mind's eye technique. Theoretically, this would be the sixth sense that allows one to predict attacks before they happen. Trembling with fear, her hand wavers on her sword, knowing that even masters fail at this. Reassuring his partner, he guarantees there's no reason to panic now. Dismissing the technical terms, he calls these famous abilities mere parlor tricks. With his eye glowing gold, he promises to teach her how to deal with this creature in practice. Standing on the pier, he places himself between the monster and the girl, ready for the lesson. Moving his feet slightly, he explains that it's all just data accumulated from countless battles. Since the monster instinctively reacts to hostility, he just needs to project a harmful intent to guide it. Listing fancy names like Sword of the Heart and Altruistic State, the girl tries to rationalize. For theorists, this would be the perfect union of spirit and sword at a divine level. Dodging by millimeters, our hero makes the giant samurai look like a clumsy puppet. As the ground explodes with the blows, he dances unscathed amidst the destruction. Mocking the whole mystique, he insists these legendary techniques are nothing special. Believing in enlightenment is dangerous because fancy names only create unnecessary mental limits. Breaking this invisible barrier, he claims to have paid an incalculable price to escape that trap. Watching the samurai finally fall defeated, it's clear the mind's eye has been surpassed. Looking at her own hands, saying, questions what she has really accomplished until today. Compared to the abyss of power she just witnessed, her current level is pathetic. Gripping her sword's hilt, frustration turns into fuel for a new determination. Faced with such a grand objective, a half-hearted mentality won't get her anywhere. Gathering her courage, she approaches our hero with a very serious request written on her face. Pleading with shining eyes, she asks to be truly trained, not just given tips. Confused, our hero points a finger, saying he's already teaching her the basics during missions. Unsatisfied, she demands direct and brutal instruction because just observing isn't working. Admitting her own weakness, she acknowledges the chasm between them is too great to ignore. Seriously, he asks for the real reason behind her rush to get strong. With hatred in her eyes, she reveals she needs to destroy the Sadai Club with her own hands. This group is infamous for being one of the 8 great calamities that swallowed the entire Himalayas. Finding the goal a bit too ambitious, he questions if it's just revenge that drives the girl. Confirming his suspicion, she says it's all for the honor of her destroyed family. Extending an exclusive black card, she guarantees she will pay very well for the service. Reading the name, KY Group, our guy nearly chokes on its market value of 257 trillion. Revealing she's the owner's granddaughter, she says she's already out of the inheritance fight, so there's no political risk. Wary of getting into a rich people's war, he asks what she means by payment. Offering extremely rare elixirs in exchange, she proposes an irresistible supply deal. Touching a sore spot, she knows he needs these items as much as she needs strength. Thinking to himself, he knows the girl would never believe the truth if he told her. In reality, the level of power she dreams of achieving, he already conquered long ago. For him, the only reason to get stronger is to restore peace to the world as it was before. Shaking her hand, the deal is sealed, foregoing the rare items in exchange for something specific. Arriving at the medical center, the van parks, successfully ending the rescue mission. In the hallways, doctors discuss the critical condition of the 7 patients rescued from the island. Based on the clinical evaluation, it will take at least a week before they can say anything. Dismissing his partner, he tells her to ensure the survivors rest while he keeps watch. Out of nowhere, he changes his mind and calls the girl outside, announcing the immediate start of her training. Confused by the rush, she barely has time to breathe before he asks a crucial question. Holding his spear, he asks if she thinks she can dodge an attack from him at full force. Hesitantly, she admits the skill gap is too absurd to have any chance. Pointing to his own face, he assures her it's possible if she pushes her senses to the absolute limit. Focusing on her gaze, he orders her to truly see, using her eyes with maximum attention. Next, he tells her to listen with her ears, ignoring all unnecessary noise around her. Sniffing the air with her nose, she tries to catch any sign of the invisible opponent. Feeling the vibration of the environment on her skin, her concentration sharpens to its peak. Demanding total mastery of the senses, our hero whispers that the real fight happens in the consciousness. Gripping her sword's hilt tightly, she prepares for the final reaction test. Disappearing in the blink of an eye, he vanishes before even finishing his dramatic line. Desperately looking around, she tries to hear the sound of his footsteps on the gravel. Appearing behind her like a ghost, he calmly says he's already been heard. Criticizing her slowness, he states that the senses must come before rational thought. In a real fight, there's no time to think, so trusting your instincts is vital for survival. Ending the theory, our guy moves on to practice without giving the student a chance to defend. Running out of breath, police officer shouts, asking where his partner disappeared to in the middle of the chaos. Grabbing his colleague by the collar, he demands urgent explanations for the sudden disappearance. However, the shocked expression on his face indicates something surreal is happening right there. Exploding the wall beside them, debris flies everywhere with the violent impact of the training. In the midst of the dust, the intense battle between master and student mercilessly destroys the urban scenery. Blocking the heavy blow with difficulty, the girl grinds her teeth from the physical effort. Attacking without mercy, our hero keeps up the absurd pressure on her defense, testing her limits. Realizing she can't dodge this attack, panic strikes her for a second. Stopping the blade inches from her face, he firmly grips her wrist, ending the motion. Interrupting the training, the police officer, out of breath, announces that one of the survivors has finally woken up. Not noticing the time, she asks in surprise if that much time has flown by during the fight. Praising her final block, he ends the first session, satisfied, and tells everyone to go inside. Asking if she's okay, her reply is short and extremely tired. Inside the room, the patient reports in fear that he saw something strange before passing out on the island. According to him, a truck arrived at the captivity site, and a person calmly got out of the vehicle. Thinking they were more hostages, our guy immediately questions the identity of this person. Denying it on the spot, the man says the monsters didn't even attack the newcomer, quite the opposite. Ignoring common logic, the individual chose a few hostages and threw them into the truck like cargo. Understanding the situation, our hero realizes someone was intentionally allowed to escape to tell the story. Covering her mouth in shock, the girl realizes the rescue wasn't luck, but planned. Basically, the villains let them escape on purpose to attract outside attention. Concluding the line of thought, it's clear that the whole thing was a trap from the start of the mission. It really would be impossible for ordinary civilians to escape a monster-filled erosion zone on their own. Questioning the motive, the girl doesn't understand why they would lure experienced hunters there. Boiling with rage, our hero won't accept being played in such a low way. Using a cheap trick like that infuriates him with the enemy's arrogance and audacity. Trying to understand her partner's fury, she wonders if it's a bruised ego from being underestimated. In reality, using human lives as live bait is what really sets him off. Suddenly, the survivor mentions a bizarre detail about a cat during the kidnapping. According to the reports, there was a cat charm hanging from the waist of the man who got out of the truck. Immediately, our hero remembers seeing that same ridiculous charm at the airport before. Tracking the signal on his phone, he already knows exactly where the culprit is hiding now. Mocking his technology, she comments that poor people are afraid to press the internet button and use data. Ignoring the joke, he suggests going back to the sanctuary but sees no one up there. Looking down from the structure, he announces with a cold smile that he's already found the scumbags. Down below, the villain's pierced face stares at the heroes with pure mockery in his eyes. Sarcastically, our hero asks if the guy sued his face with a broken sewing machine. Despite the ridiculous appearance, his aura confirms he's no ordinary opponent. Introducing himself as Kim Ji-hyun, the villain greets the brats with unbearable arrogance. Assuring them they are alive thanks to him, the mood becomes heavy with the revelation. Questioning the term, alive, our guy notices something very strange about the hostage next to the enemy. Pulling a man by the hair, the villain decides to show the cruel alternative to the rescue. Without blinking, he throws the poor guy straight into the active erosion zone. Watching the fall, saying can't believe the gratuitous and sadistic cruelty she's witnessing. Unfortunately, whoever enters the barrier doesn't leave until the core is destroyed, sealing the victim's fate. Before their eyes, the man instantly transforms into an erosion beast upon touching the ground. Complaining about the result, the villain says a weak host makes a useless and disposable monster. With a quick strike, he eliminates the newly created creature as if it were worthless trash. Shocked, the duo tries to understand the macabre purpose of this whole insanity of transforming people. Wiping his hand, the psychopath explains that sacrificing common people is no longer enough for his plans. To create a truly powerful and satisfying erosion monster, quality raw material is needed. Understanding the plan, our hero realizes that strong hunters are the real target of the trap. Basically, they need the hostages to be strong enough to withstand the transformation. Explaining that it was an elder's order, he mentions the extremist group, Hears of Dangun. Claiming a unique purpose, the group reveals they are willing to do anything to achieve their goal. From the fanatical speech, the objective is to maintain Korea's hegemony at any bloody cost. Shouting about building a truly powerful nation, he firmly believes in this patriotic madness. Dreaming of a country that no one dares to challenge, their ideology is clear and dangerous. Launching a surprise attack, the explosion throws the heroes away with a shockwave. Landing with style, our hero asks for a break from this boring rant that no one can stand anymore. Mocking the speech, he reminds him that the country is already a global power without needing this. Furious, the villain yells that this isn't enough for his distorted vision of greatness. As he attacks, he insists on a sovereign nation that strikes fear into all its neighbors. Desiring an unshakable superpower, his blows are heavy, fast, and full of conviction. Citing the painful history of the Korean peninsula, he tries to justify his highness' crimes with cheap patriotism. Complaining about constantly paying tributes, the villain lectures on the national humiliation suffered. Pointing to the neighbors, he shouts that the country's sovereignty was stolen and trampled. While listening to the speech, our hero realizes his opponent is a black belt in Taekwondo and way too fast. Coming down from the sky with a devastating kick, the fanatic promises to make the enemies pay for everything. Despite the surprising speed, our hero manages to defend the blow, keeping his cool. According to the madman's theory, if the erosion zones disappear, Korea loses its strategic global position. With a sadistic smile, the woman accuses our guy of having no intention of saving the world. Confused by the twisted logic, he hears that many lives are in danger if he doesn't agree. Revealing their secret trump card, the leader claims to have discovered a way to control the erosion zones. Hesitating for a moment, our hero stops and thinks that if this is true, it changes everything. If this crazy idea is real, humans could finally live in safety without risks. Interrupting his train of thought, the villain imposes conditions and demands the handover of Hansang, I to cooperate. Suspicious of the offer, our hero asks why on earth they would tell him this secret. Questioning the method's effectiveness, He asks how much control they really have over the monsters. Noticing the flaw in the speech, it's clear they are complete frauds with no proof. Tired of hearing so much nonsense from weak people pretending to have noble goals, he tells them all to shut up. With a brutal kick from above, the impact shatters the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Landing on the rubble, our guy clicks his tongue, thinking he overdid it with the force of the blow. Unfortunately, the mana stored in the glove wasn't enough to properly activate the paradoxical phantom flame. Even though he was hit head-on, the fanatic leader gets up, proving the friction was weak. Appearing like a green flash, Hansang joins the fight, taking advantage of the enemy's distraction. Mocking the girl, the pierced villain thought she would be paralyzed with fear forever. Taunting the swordswoman, he asks if the pretty girl is feeling braver now. Noticing our hero's discharged glove, the enemy warns her not to meddle where she's not wanted. Glancing sideways, our hero silently confirms he needs time to recharge. Holding a vial of elixir, she asks how much time he needs to get back into the fight. Surrounded by electricity, the girl takes the lead, telling him to leave everything to her. Worried about her body, he knows that drinking so many elixirs at once could cause a fatal overload. To fully recharge the glove, our hero asks for exactly 5 minutes of cover. With her eyes shining with determination, she warns him that he's forbidden from losing this fight. A gigantic lightning bolt cuts through the scene, trying to hit the villain with full force. Dodging the electric attacks, the fanatic leader scoffs, saying he might take her out by accident. Hit head-on by a powerful discharge, his silhouette disappears in the blue flash. Hoping the blow worked, the girl watches the smoke with a tense look. Emerging from the crater with a bloody smile, the scumbag asks what that was. Laughing at her effort, he says the attack just tickled before counter-attacking. Thrown to the ground by the shockwave, Sang-ah screams in pain, losing her stance. Turning his attention to the hero, the villain mockingly calls our hero Slipknot. Fully charged and ready for action, our guy asks if the enemy is ready to be finished. In disbelief at the recovery, the fanatic doesn't understand how his mana refilled so quickly. Catching his partner before she falls, our hero questions the adversary's surprise. As for the secret to his regeneration, it's the same principle as the piercings the villain uses to channel energy. Wielding his weapon, the enemy realizes too late that he's been read like an open book. Thanks to the excess mana Sang-ah leaked into the air, the environment was perfect for recharging. Now with a full tank and the phantom flame restored, our hero thanks her for the favor. Not understanding anything about absorbing wasted mana, the villain panics at the impossible logic. Cutting the small talk, our hero warns that he doesn't need to know anything because he's going down today. Summoning the blue trajectory, energy gathers at the tip of his spear for the final blow. In a devastating sequence of 16 hits, the chain of attack shatters the enemy's defense.